Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, joining me today is my co-host. Please welcome Angela Andrieux. Hello, Angela.
Hey, Vanelli. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday. So, Angela, what do we have set up for today? I know it's our wrap-up. What are you going to be showing?
Today is our Friday weekly wrap-up where we go over the topics that we covered earlier in the week and answer any questions that you might have thought of between the time that we aired the original episode and today. For me, that means we're going to be covering the catalog and what the Luminar catalog is all about. And we're also going to be talking about color and making precise color corrections with the color harmony tool. It's a really fun episode. A lot of you really seem to like it. We're going to dive into the color wheel and see what some of these adjustments do. Vanelli, what are you doing this week?
I'm doing because Valentine's Day is coming up this weekend. So I'm going to show how to create a custom Valentine's card and put a little twist to it. And then how to make a triptych using one image, splitting into 3 sections. So
awesome. Well, it's very timely for the Valentine's card because if people haven't gotten their Valentine's gifts and cards yet, you're behind the game and you're a special someone. You don't want to disappoint them, so you better keep watching.
Well, let's hope your special someone isn't also watching this episode, because I'm going to say, oh, so now you forgot to give me something that made this. All right, Angela. So how about we start with you? Let me share the screen.
All right, so up on the screen I've got a color wheel. And I know a handful of you did ask where I got this color wheel. If you just go to the internet and you search for a color wheel image, that's where I found it. I don't remember the exact link, but you can download the image and then load it into your Luminar AI Catalog, and then go ahead and play with some of the different sliders and see how they're being affected by those different adjustments. So what we did yesterday was to go into our edit tool, and we went down to the bottom here into the professional sections to color harmony. And we went ahead and walked through all of the different adjustments that we have here in this tool and saw how they were affected by, on the color wheel, how they affected adjacent colors and so forth. I also reminded you that up here in our help menu, you go to our user guide, go ahead and pull that up. Under our professional tools section, we have a really great section here for color harmony. You can also type in color harmony at the top, and every single slider here is described. So the coolest one I wanted to show you here today and remind you of, you can watch the full episode from yesterday and get all of the nitty gritty, but the coolest one is definitely color contrast. And I love that objects of a selected color will become lighter while objects of the opposite color on the color wheel become darker. And that's what inspired me to pull up a color wheel for this particular episode. So let's go ahead and move our color contrast all the way up, and you'll see one side of that color wheel is getting lighter and lighter and lighter the higher I take that amount slider. Now I can grab my hue slider, and this is going to change what part of the color wheel is getting that deep saturation versus getting really, really light. So as I move that around, you can just follow that as it goes around the circle and see exactly how those sliders are affecting the colors and tones in your image. Now, I finished up this particular episode by putting color harmony to work on a couple of images. I went back to my catalog and I started with this really beautiful beverage. It makes me a little thirsty looking at it. And the only edits we did here were with the color harmony tool. We didn't do anything else, so here was the before. And it's a good image, but it's a little flat. And we were able to bring out a bunch of color and warmth and contrast just with the color harmony tool. So that tells you how powerful, amongst all of the tools, this one tool is. So you can get a lot done with this image. Now, if you like the colors you created with that and you have an entire set of images, you can sync that across several images or copy those adjustments, which we did back here in the catalog. I copied this same set of adjustments, right click on it, adjustments, and copy. And then I went over to this other image next to it that's a similar style, similar lighting. And I did right click, adjustments, paste, right there. Now if we go ahead and open that one up, let that render, give it a second. And I'll show you what that one looked like before and after. So there's the before. Again, it's a little flat, it's a good image, but we warmed it up a little bit, it added a bit of contrast. And again, those were just that color harmony tool. So if I go ahead and go back to my grid view, you can see that these two images now have very similar toning and coloring, And you can sync those across an entire set of images for a client if you're doing commercial photography, and it looks awesome. What do you think about that, Vanelli?
That's awesome. And I really liked how you did that. And we've gotten so many people talking about that. And I told you I was so excited because it's a visual. You're able to see what the tools. In fact, we even talked about this. Let's go back to your screen. And by the way, at the bottom, do you see where it says stop sharing and hide?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because you hit hide. There we go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
there we go.
All right.
I didn't realize that was showing on the screen there.
Say again?
I didn't realize that was showing on your screen too, so there we go.
So if we could, hello, Pat. Pat says hello to everyone. Could you go to the AI, Structure AI tool?
Yes.
So I love how you have this color wheel, because now you can experiment with all these other tools. So let's see what Structure AI does.
So as we move that to the right, you see all those edges becoming more pronounced. And along those edges, we're getting that mid-tone contrast that is making each of those color sections stand apart from each other. And if we break it back the other way, it softens all of those edges and it kind of blends them together.
Look at that. Right, and then Boost was like HDR.
Kind of. It really kind of made those edges hyper sharp. And it almost added like a little bit of a white edge there to really differentiate between each section and almost made it 3D.
Exactly. I mean, so if you're wondering what some of our tools are doing to the color or to the image, this is a perfect example that shows you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can even go
with detail. Right?
Pardon?
What about details?
Let's take a look. So there's not a whole lot in the way of small details in this image, but well, actually, look at that. I didn't even think about it. All of those edges between just became more pronounced, but in a sharper fashion than structure. Structure almost created dimension. Well, this just sharpened the edges. So let's go ahead and pull over medium details. There we go. And again, we can pull that back the other direction as well, and it's just softening those edges. And then our large details. There we go. Yeah, all sorts of cool stuff that you can do with this color wheel to really see what's going on when you move these different sliders. It's a great demonstration.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was really impressed when you showed that. It was really neat to see. It was really neat to see, Angela, how you did that. So I liked that a lot. All right.
Good.
Was that your cat?
He was being naughty, so I grabbed his toy and I threw it, and it actually ended up behind the door. So we'll see if he finds it.
Angela's cat has it. You play fetch with your cat, right?
I do. Yeah. He actually brings it back to me, and if I ignore him, he attacks my feet until I throw it for him again.
All right. Well, here, let's have a real quick question. And by the way, it's our new screen, which I thought was pretty cool. You can actually see what everybody is typing into the chat. And Pat was asking, she tried to ask yesterday, but it was too late, that she found that if you're working out of Lightroom and Photoshop, so using it as a plugin, it's better not to activate the catalog Luminar. Now, keep in mind, Pat, your Luminar catalog is activated no matter what. So, what you can do in a case like that is not put any images in your catalog, and you have a blank catalog. But you're always working with a catalog, what you do with Luminar. So, and please, if you find what we're doing today very helpful, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Up in the corner, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe, so this way you'll be notified as soon as we go live. All right, Angela, I'm going to jump into my screen.
All right.
And here we have the cute couple, Dan and Shell. Now these were the two. A lot of the images you've seen me working with before, Dan and Shell were the photographers. They're a husband and wife team, and this is their style. This edit I just did. So here's before and after. Here's before, and here's after. Let me show you the original. So under history, I'm just going to come down to the original. Here's the original image. Now, this is where planning comes in. I want to make a 5x4, or I'm sorry, a 5x7 Valentine's card. So I'm going to crop it to 5x7. So I'll come over here and I'll select 5x7, crop it in, adjust it, and then lock it into place. Now, keep in mind, if you have a print company or you're printing at home and you want to make a square Valentine's card, you can do the same thing. So the first step is to crop it in the dimension of the card, and we have plenty of megapixels to deal with, so we're fine. One thing I did notice here is that little itty bitty light's kind of killing me. There we go. There, I got that out of the scene. Great. Then what I did was under templates, came over to the templates that I created, and it was called Cute Couple originally, but then what I did was I added hearts to it. Now, from here, I'm not sure, Angela, if in our description we actually added where we can get those hearts. We'll double check that. If not, we'll make sure when we're done, we'll add the description of where you could download these hearts that Angela found for me. All right. Now, I added the hearts, but I'm going to come over here, and the hearts, by the way, were added under the texture tool, which is right here under local masking. Here's texture. Now, when I originally did this, let me show you the mask. I didn't want the hearts on the couple themselves, so using the erase tool from here, the erase brush, I'm going to set the opacity to 100, and then come over and erase it into the areas that I don't want the hearts to appear. This way the hearts will be on the outside, and yes, I did zoom because I felt that the hearts that I had, they were a little too small and it's just a little overboard. So I zoomed them in right about there, and I actually like where that looks. So again, here's before, here's after. So you have the front of the card completed. Then from here you would export it, save it to disk, give it a second, and do this. There we go. And, of course, give it a descriptive name, maybe front 5x7. So now I have it here. JPEG is fine. I'm going to leave it at actual size. Plenty of megapixels. Now on Windows, we can set the resolution. 240 is normal. People are asking for 300. That's fine. And I'll create the quality up to 100. And we're set. And then I export it, send it off to my printer, and the printing company, could print this on, let's say, just the front of the card. If you're using Shutterfly or one of these other companies that actually has the full card, well, then you can place this as the artwork on the front, open it up, and then type in or put other pictures into the middle. So that's a great way of making something special for your significant other. One thing I didn't mention before, honestly, down here or inside the card, somewhere put the date. So this way, oh wow, that's right, we took this picture in 2020 or 2021, and it's a good reference. All right, Angela, what do you think on that?
I think it's so cute. I love how you put that together. The heart overlays really make the image special and definitely, super cheesy in a perfect Valentine's Day way. And one thing that you did early on in your process was to adjust your crop to get rid of that light at the top. And I think that edge patrol that you need to do when you do your images is really important, especially if you're in a competitive environment, you're entering photo clubs, critiques, and things like that. Where things are intersecting on your edges and causing little distractions like that, it's definitely worth paying attention to because it can really make or break an image.
Exactly. All right, Angela. So what do you have for us now?
All right. So the second topic that we talked about this week was demystifying your Luminar AI Catalog. And so the main point here, I'm gonna kind of gloss over what we talked about. If you have questions, I encourage you to go back and watch yesterday's episode. We talked about it a lot more in depth. But the key thing is that the catalog is a database, and it contains two important pieces of information. It points to where your images are located on your computer, and it contains a list of edits that were made to those pictures. It does not actually hold your pictures, and you have to keep in mind that if something happens to your computer and you back up your catalog only contains where your pictures are located and those edits. It does not actually hold your edits. So you want to make sure you're also backing up your pictures folder. Ideally, you're backing up everything on your computer, but not just the catalog. Make sure you have a catalog backup and a backup of your images, because they are separate. The catalog just points to where your images are located. Now, if you're using Luminar as a plugin, you're going to have a different cataloging system, whether you're just keeping a hierarchy of images on your hard drive, you're using Lightroom, you're using some other system. Those might differ a little bit in how they function. But with Luminar, you want to make sure that you can get a backup of both the catalog and those pictures, because the catalog doesn't hold your pictures. It just points to them. So that was my big point from that episode. Anything to add to that, Vanelli?
No, I think that's awesome. And I think that's like helping Pat. Let me pull Pat's question back up there. Good, I had no problem in earlier days. All right, good. So, yeah, so Pat was just mentioning the same thing. Is in the earlier days, now keep in mind, in fact, Angela, could you do us a favor? Could you show us just how to create a blank catalog?
Absolutely. If you want to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so I go to the File menu and go to Catalog and then click New. And that'll create a brand new catalog. And then I can then either decide to put images in it or not. Now, one question I did get yesterday on our insiders.skylum.com community was one of our users had his images previously in Lightroom, but he also was using Luminar 4, I believe, at the time, and he was using Apple Photos. And he had all of his images in one place, and they were all sharing the same folders. Now, that can work with Luminar and Lightroom. You can have them pointed to the same folders of images. They're not going to share their edits unless you're using it as a plugin, but you can still point them to the same folder of images. The problem is when you get Apple Photos involved, they have their own hierarchy of doing things. So in adding photos from Mac to that mix, all of his images got moved around in Apple's closed infrastructure, and now Lightroom and Luminar can no longer find his photos. So you want to make sure you pick one home base for your images, whether that's Luminar AI for its catalog, you want to use Lightroom, you want to use Photos for Mac, whatever works best for you, but try to stick to one home base for your images, and then you make your images go out to the various apps from there.
Well, that's great. All right, so I'm going to show how to make a triptych. And when I did this the other day, somebody wrote, I was late at night, I was like 2 in the morning, and I got a notification. Somebody made a comment and said, oh, that's right, take a beautiful image and split it into 3. Who does that? And I wanted to reply so bad. Well, the great masters did during the Renaissance. You know, they used the triptych, and if it's not for you, that's okay, but don't discourage other people. You know, so that's the key. We welcome comments from everyone, and that's awesome. But remember, your words have consequences. So maybe you don't. Here's a great example. As a sports shooter, I use back button focus. I don't know if you use that, to where I push the back of my camera. That focuses. So the only thing the shutter does is it takes the picture. It doesn't focus. Whereas it's traditionally set up, you push the front, hold it for halfway down, then take the picture. It focuses, then takes it. So I made the comment that I do back button, and someone did the same thing. Well, who does that? And all these people that can benefit from using that, sports photographers, you know, you just have to be careful. You can say, I prefer not to do that. I see where you're heading with it. That's not something I prefer. Hey, that's no problem. We agree to disagree. All right? So let me pull up the image here. Now, with this here, I already set it in edit, And we'll start, and this has already been edited. So if you notice down here is the final, right here, it's already the final image. The size of the image, let's just double check it to make sure, is let's visualize, I want this hanging over my couch. And let's say I want this to be a 2-foot by 3-foot print, but not only do I want it to be a 2-foot by 3-foot print, but I want it to be extended out just a little bit more. So we know 2 foot's 24 by 36 inches. Oh, I went the wrong way. Let me try it again. Custom. Here we go, 36 by 24. Oh, and there it is. All right, so it is set to be a 24 by 36 inch print, and that's great. So now that I have the print set, now I have to create 3 separate panels. So let's come back over here. This time, under custom, we already said it's 36. We're gonna make that 12. There we go. 12 by 24, and I'll hit enter. Now, why did I pick 24? I went online and I found a standard size print is 12 by 24. So if I get 3 of those, and it was dirt cheap, it was like $10 for the print, I'd have my 3 images. If I were sending this off to, let's say, Metal Mural or another company that prints directly onto the metal, and I want 3 sizes, then it doesn't matter. I just take however size the print, let's say if I wanted it to be, let's say 3 foot by 4 foot, then I would crop the 4 foot sections down and let them deal with printing them on those panels. But if I were to use frames, I want to save money, so I chose a standard size. And that's the standard size here in the US, all right? Now, once I hit enter, now there's my centerpiece. Export, save it to disk, and let's give it a, let's say panel 1. We'll come down here, actual size, because everyone keeps harping, they want 300 pixels per inch, that's fine. And then sharpening, let's go with medium sharpening. Now, I'm gonna keep this settings for all 3 of them. From here, I'll just hit export, and it'll save it to my hard drive, and I can send this off to the printer. Just to save time, I'm not going to export it. I come back in a second time. Now it already remembers my crop, so I'm just going to take the crop and shift either to the left or to the right. Here it is. And then, same thing. From here, export. And make sure all these were the same. Medium. And let's say this is panel 3. I'm sure they will leave everything the same. Now, by the way, again, if I hit export, it'll actually save those dimensions for me. So the next time I do it, it should automatically be set. And then the last one, same thing. But take it and bring it to the other side, all right? Now, what you should be asking yourself on this right now is, this is great. Let me get to this is great, but we don't have a ruler. So someone made a comment the other day, Angela's, well, what do we do if we want the centerpiece to be slightly larger than the side pieces? Luminar doesn't have a ruler, so a couple options you could do is, yes, you would export it and then cut it up either in Photoshop or send it off to the printers and have them cut it for you. Or another option, you could actually take a ruler, like in the old days, and put the ruler onto the computer. Now, it's not going to be identical, but you'll be able to separate it into 3, make little marks, make sure it's not a permanent marker, and then from there, just put your crop marks where you want it to be. If it's off slightly, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But that's a way of doing it, because no, Luminar is not a graphics program. A graphic program requires a ruler. That's where Photoshop kicks in. So there you go, Angela. What do you think?
Very cool. I think it's a lot of fun. I think creating a triptych it doesn't work for every image, obviously, but I think for that particular image, it works really well because it actually breaks it up almost into like 3 separate colors, because it goes from those really golden tones over to the very blue tones. And you have almost, by breaking it into those thirds, 3 separate images that blend together, and to put them in a 3-panel setup would, I think, be really beautiful.
Yep. No, and by the way, it's not stopping you. You can use 3 different images if it's from the same theme, right? Like, now this, I think, will look phenomenal with those birds flying across the scene. If you can maneuver it just right, put the birds, where the birds where the one bird starts here, and all of a sudden the other birds are in the middle piece, the other birds are in the following piece. That, I think, will look pretty cool. What do you think on that, Angela?
That could be fun. You could give it a try. I know you like adding the birds.
Yeah. So those are just things that we can try here. All right, let's check out some of the comments. Hello, right. Julie. Julie asked the other day when you did this, the image isn't centered. Can you make it centered and then overlap the side panels? I understand what she's saying on this. With that, what I would typically do is get the image as large as I can have it. Go inside and figure out exactly where the center, I want the center to be. Now that I have the center the size I want, I could crop on the other side. So I could take a sliver off to the other side to make the panels all even. You see what I mean? So let's say if it's 24 by 36, well, it may not be 24, maybe 25 by 36. And I center that one over, in fact, let me show you my screen real quick. Let me convert this because I had a hard time trying to find it again. So the example right here, the house. So here, if we did the same concept, let's envision the house is not centered. Come on, there we go. Ready? 12. All right, so if the house were not centered, in this case it is, but if the house were not centered, what you could do is, let's say again, we wanted this to be 24. Well, let's say it looked like this. Well, then what I could do is figure out, okay, well, I want the house here. I added a 1/4 of an inch or an inch. Well, instead of this being 24, now this is 25, and then I'll just crop that little piece off, and now it's in the center. So, did I explain that okay, Angela?
Yeah, it made perfect sense to me.
Okay, good. And Julie, I hope that yeah. So again, the cool thing about all of this stuff is it's stuff that you can experiment with, and you're just trying to be creative. To where maybe you have a really, really cool image that you want in the center to be a square, 24 by 24. And then you have 12 by 24, 12 by 24. Well, now it's even larger going across. But that center piece looks like, let me do this, there we go. Looks like this big square, and the sides look thinner. The sky is the limit with creativity.
Absolutely.
Right? Awesome.
Any other questions?
So, yeah, let's check. Nope, that's it. And please, once again, if you like these episodes, please click the thumbs up button up on the side. Now, Angela, we will say what's happening in March, other than your St. Patrick's Day.
Well, yes, of course, St. Patrick's Day, which is awesome. Everybody gets to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day. But coming up in March, we're going to have a new update coming with some great new stuff. And we can't wait to share it with you. What can we tell them, Vanelli?
No, we can't say that's when we're going to debut Sky AI 2.0. We can't tell you that. And with Sky 2.0, our CEO, Alex, did a really cool demonstration of it to where you see the reflection in the water. There's a lot of cool features that they've added to that, and there's a couple other features that they've enhanced and added to some of the other tools, which are going to be killer. Now, if you own Luminar AI, in fact, could you pull up Insiders on yours, and I'll switch over to yours.
I can.
So if you're an owner of Luminar AI, take advantage. You got it up? Up there you are.
It's almost there. There we go.
Take advantage of Luminar AI Insiders. And Angela, from here, how do they sign up for it?
Well, if you go to insiders.skylum.com, you'll sign in, you'll create an account, you'll request access. There's a couple of very short questions to answer, just so we make sure you're not a robot and you're not going to come in and spam the group. So answer those questions. As soon as we see them, we go ahead and accept you into the group, and then you have access to a ton of different articles. You also have a lot of our other members are posting pictures, posting their expertise. There's so much fun stuff here. It's a really, really, really wonderful group.
Exactly. And honestly, if you're sick of the Facebook bashing back and forth, all this stuff, the negativity on Facebook, then you got to join Luminar AI Insiders, because it's just filled with like-minded people. When you get on there, you'll be at home like, wow, photographers are out here helping other photographers become the best they can be. If you have questions about how edits are made, ask questions all day long. And people like Wayne is one of our top contributors, right? He doesn't work for Skylum. So, and you know how competitive I am. So you get rankings on who's helped the most in that community. And he and who else? Charles, is it?
Yeah, Charles is very active.
Yep, so they're and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal to see that people will ask a question and boom, because they're always watching Coffee Break, they have the answers and they'll chime in before we have a chance to answer the questions for them. But it's a great community, so you guys can check that out. Or if you need help with anything, please use the user manual, the user guide. Just go to help.
Yeah.
And Windows, it's help, user, and on the Mac, it's the same thing.
Yeah, if you go to the help menu, right there, user guide.
Yep. Perfect.
I'm not showing my screen now, but I'm showing people. No, it's not showing my screen.
I'm sorry, here it is. Show us.
That's all right. So here's the user guide, and then it's here, help, user guide.
Perfect.
And the other thing to always pay attention to is if you go to the website and you're not finding what you need here, the best place to go is to www.skylum.com/support. And there's a ton of great stuff here. You have access to our community forums where you can post your questions. But then if you scroll down a little bit, you can go ahead and enter your name, email here, go down through the form that you can choose. So if you need a technical assistance, includes technical support, go down, answer the questionnaire, and our support team typically will get back to you within 24 hours, and you get to work with a real person. This down here is just a bot.
So aren't we real people? We're real people too. All right.
Yeah. And we're real people too.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the chat below, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. You can always email us at vanelli@skylum.com, or is it Angela Andrieux, or is it?
It's just Angela@skylum.com.
Angela@skylum.com. And then, of course, if it's a support question, please feel free to email support. But check all these resources first, because chances are you'll find the answer in those. All right?
Yes, definitely.
Well, great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Angela, thank you for joining me here. And we'll see you guys.
As always.
We'll see you guys at the next coffee break. Bye.
Bye.